Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the biggest roller coaster ride of the financial world, where trade wars, tariffs, and economic forecasts are colliding like a poorly planned Wall Street bet. Buckle up, because we're about to break down everything you need to know about how the U.S. economy might be heading straight into the fire. Economic policy is supposed to steer the country in the right direction, but at this point, it feels like someone fell asleep at the wheel. We have the Federal Reserve trying to cool down inflation, the government increasing tariffs, and Wall Street flipping out every time a new jobs report drops. In other words, no one really knows what they're doing. One day, policymakers say, we need more government spending to keep the economy moving. The next day, they say we need to cut spending to reduce the deficit. It's like a relationship argument that never ends. You know those family fights at Thanksgiving? Now imagine that, but with entire countries and trillions of dollars at stake.
No, God!
The US-China trade war is still going strong, and now tariffs on Mexico and Canada are making things even worse. It's like America woke up one day and decided to start charging its best friends to hang out. Result? Supply chains are shattered, businesses are scrambling for alternatives, and prices are going up. Oh, and other countries? They're retaliating. So it's getting ugly fast. Let's break it down. The US just hit Mexico and Canada with a 25% tariff and China with a 10% tariff. But before you celebrate, let me ask you a simple question. Who actually pays these tariffs? Tariffs get passed directly to businesses, who then pass them directly to you. So that means more expensive groceries, higher costs on cars, tech, and furniture. A whole lot of, why is everything so expensive at the checkout? And if you think businesses will just absorb the cost, no. They will absolutely make sure you pay for it. If you think the economy's fine, let me introduce you to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's GDP Now model. It's forecasting a minus 2.4% contraction in Q1 2025. And in economic terms, that's really bad. For reference, the last time GDP shrank this much was during COVID's peak. So if this forecast holds up, we could be looking at a full-blown recession. Or, as the government would put it, it's just a temporary slowdown. Spoiler, it never is. The fundamentals are strong. Translation, we have no idea what's going on. The economy is resilient. Famous last words before a crash. All right, so if the economy is looking shaky, the Federal Reserve should step in to fix things, right? Well, maybe. The problem is, the Fed is basically stuck between two bad choices. Option 1, lower interest rates to stimulate growth but risk more inflation. Option 2, keep rates high to fight inflation but risk a recession. It's like choosing between a bad haircut and bad Wi-Fi. Neither is good, but one is definitely going to ruin your life faster. For months, the Fed has been raising interest rates to fight inflation. But guess what? Inflation is still a problem. And now businesses are struggling to borrow money. And just to make things more exciting, if the Fed lowers rates too soon, inflation could come roaring back. If they wait too long, the economy could fall off a cliff. Goldman Sachs and Moody's say there's a 20 to 40% chance of recession, which means they have no idea either. Basically, we're either heading toward a mild recession, a total economic meltdown, or nothing at all. The problem is, investors are reacting to every little thing, which brings us to our next topic. Since 70% of the US economy relies on people buying stuff, if we all stop spending, we're done for.
What?
People are cutting back. More savings, fewer vacations, less spending on big purchases, more people searching how to make a meal out of rice and air. All right, let's talk about the biggest drama queen of the economy. The stock market. One day everything is fine, the next day it's a full-blown panic. Sound familiar? That's because right now, the market is flipping out harder than a Twitter argument. We've got the NASDAQ and S&P 500 swinging like a broken amusement park ride, and investors are acting like they just got ghosted by their financial advisor.
This is fine.
1 minute, Wall Street loves the economic outlook, and the next minute, they're selling off like they just found out the economy is built on monopoly money. Tech stocks are getting crushed. Sorry, Tesla investors. Retail stocks are shaky. Turns out, when people stop spending, stores stop making money. Shocking. Bank stocks are volatile. Because fun fact, banks really don't like recessions. And if you're thinking, well, I don't invest, so why should I care? Guess what? Your retirement fund, your savings, your company's future hiring plans, all of it is tied to stock market confidence. So when investors panic, businesses panic, and when businesses panic, layoffs happen. So speaking of layoffs, let's address the elephant in the room. Right now, we're seeing the highest layoff numbers in 4.5 years. And consumer sentiment just hit a 15-month low. Big tech has already started cutting jobs. Retail and service industries are quietly trimming hours and staff. And if you've been hearing phrases like company restructuring or strategic cost cutting at work, yeah, it's time to dust off that resume. The problem is, once layoffs start, they can spiral. If people lose their jobs, they spend less. If they spend less, businesses make less money. If businesses make less money, they cut more jobs. And then the cycle just keeps going. Companies like Amazon, Google, and even Walmart are preparing for a slowdown. And when the big players start tightening their belts, smaller businesses follow. Let's check in on corporate earnings. Because if businesses aren't making money, guess what happens to jobs, wages, and investment? Yeah, nothing good. Right now, companies like Delta Airlines, Apple, and even McDonald's are adjusting their earnings forecasts downward, which is fancy corporate speak for we're making less money and we're about to make some cutbacks. Less hiring, fewer bonuses, more cost-saving measures, aka layoffs. When corporate profits shrink, companies stop expanding, stop hiring, and start looking for ways to survive. That means workers get hit first. And if you're thinking, I don't work in corporate America, so I'm fine, well, if big companies pull back, it impacts everyone. Okay, enough doom and gloom. Are there any silver linings? Actually, yes. The US might finally start bringing manufacturing back home. More jobs, less dependence on foreign supply chains. The economy could reset and stabilize at a healthier level. If businesses adapt quickly, we could see new innovations and industries rise. This could be a turning point for better policies, smarter investments, and a more resilient economy. So, after all this, are we heading for a crisis, or can we pull out of this nosedive? We've got trade wars, tariffs, layoffs, stock market swings, and a Fed that's basically gambling with interest rates. But we also have opportunities to rebuild, adapt, and make smarter moves. Now, over to you. Are you optimistic about the economy, or are you stocking up on ramen and survival kits? Comment below. And while you're here, like, subscribe, and stay offbeat.